welcome to Advanced Motorcycling. I'm Reg Local. A lot of you will probably be familiar with all the car content that I usually do, but I've had a number of messages from people saying they'd like to see some advanced motorcycling content. Now, it's taken me a while to get around to doing this because really I've only had my bike licence for a couple of years, but in that time I've gained some qualifications. I passed my advanced motorcycle test with the IAM, and then I passed my Masters with the IAM as well, got a distinction. I've now qualified as an examiner on the bikes with the IAM. I was already a car examiner, but now I'm examining people when they've completed an advanced bike course. For those of you that are new to the channel, my background is I used to be a police instructor years ago. I've written a couple of books about advanced and performance driving. So most of my background is in cars, high performance car driving. If you look at some of the other videos on the channel, you'll see it's mostly car related stuff. But now, with the experience I've gained through doing the advanced tests and now being an examiner for the IAM, I'm going to put a series of videos together that will help you if you're interested in advanced motorcycling. So to start with, let's go and have a ride, and let's have a talk about what do we mean by advanced motorcycling. What is advanced motorcycling? So welcome to Advanced Motorcycling. Like I said, I've waited a while before I started doing any advanced motorcycling videos because I just didn't feel like I qualified. I suppose now I'm an examiner for the IAM on bikes as well as cars. Been doing cars for quite a few years now, but doing bikes now, I suppose that makes me reasonably well qualified. Thank you. To talk about advanced motorcycling, take our time, post this GG. So I'm going to do a series of videos on advanced motorcycling, the system of motorcycle control, what's required to pass the test if you do an IAM or a ROSPA test, or maybe even a police test. And I thought we'd start this series of videos by talking about actually what is advanced motorcycling, because there's a lot of different mixed views. So let's start with the basics. What is advanced motorcycling? Well, for me it's actually anything you want it to be honest. There's absolutely no need for you to go and do a test or a course if you don't want to. If you ride a bike, you are extremely vulnerable on the road. The statistics say that you're 20 times more likely to die if you're on a bike than you are if you're driving a car on the British roads. Now don't panic. Roads in Britain are pretty safe. Internationally, I think we're one of the safest countries in the world, if not the safest, if you take into account how many vehicles are on the road. But even so, you're extremely vulnerable on a bike, and anything you can do to make your life safer and longer, it's got to be a good thing, hasn't it? So the first thing I'd say about advanced motorcycling is it's about being safe on the bike. Right, just give me a minute, it's a bit noisy this bridge. Got a rattle to it, that bridge. It's not like some of the ones we were using in India back end of last year, but that's quite a noisy one. So yeah, let's start by saying it's about being safe, but I don't really think that means it's boring, because it isn't. It's about enjoying your motorcycle as well. So you tend to find the difference between motorcyclists and car drivers is those of us that ride bikes do it through choice, usually these days, not because we have to. Wasn't always the case. Motorcycling used to be a cheap method of transport for people who couldn't afford a car, but these days, generally on the whole, it's mostly people ride bikes because they choose to. So we do it because we enjoy it. So advanced motorcycling is about learning to enjoy your motorcycling safely. It's certainly not about crawling around at very slow speeds, although I'm not racing along this road today. But equally, it's not about setting lap times, getting your knee down on a circuit, all that kind of stuff. It's a nice balance between riding progressively and riding with some restraint. Thank you. So on this road, for instance, we're having to show an awful lot of restraint. It's a very tight, narrow little back road. Okay. More than appropriate use of the horn there. But at other times we want to get on with it as well and drive or ride nice and progressively, get where we're going nice and safely. So what are the specific things that take somebody from being sort of normal licence holding motorcyclist to being an advanced motorcyclist? Well, one of the first things I'm looking for as an examiner is for the candidate to have an ability to plan. Planning is absolutely crucial in any of this stuff. Same with advanced driving. So a lot of your average drivers out there and riders who haven't had any kind of additional training, they drive or they ride along until they arrive at something, and then they go, oh, something I need to deal with, and they make some decisions and they deal with it. Whereas the more advanced or better kind of riding, the expectation is that you're looking in the distance and you're making riding plans as you're riding along. So up ahead now I can see there's a couple of things. There's a change in speed limit into what looks like a 30, and there's a sign to the left there for uneven road surface, and the road is bending round to the right. So I'm making my plans based around all that, and I'm checking the mirrors, and I'm moving to the near side, and I'm rolling off the gas until we're down to 30 miles an hour as we enter the village of Rufford. And as we go, I'm just going to click the cruise control on just to make sure we don't exceed that 30 mile an hour speed limit, because it's very easily done on a bike. One of the things I noticed when I first moved over to bikes is that less than a millimetre's travel on that throttle can easily put another 10 miles an hour on the bike very quickly without you realising it. So although you might think that cruise control is a bit of a luxury on a motorcycle, I find it a very useful little bit of kit. So yeah, planning. So for instance, I'm looking up the road now, I can see a route board indicating a junction to the left. So I know that there might be vehicles emerging from that junction, or the vehicles in front might be turning into that junction. Signpost for Parbold, and we're actually going to turn left at that junction. So my plan is to turn left. I'm checking the mirrors. I'm going to put a signal on nice and early for the vehicles approaching. I'm going to get my position into this little slip road. The left lifesaver, the right shoulder check, position, speed and gear down to second gear, and ride into the junction. So there you can see I'm doing everything systematically in a set order. And if you subscribe to the channel, the next video that I'm going to post will be about the system of motorcycle control. So you can see there that I was making my plans on the approach to that junction, and then we executed that plan, and I knew what I was going to do when I got there, rather than just sorting it all out at the last minute. So what else are we looking for? Well, that systematic approach, doing things in the right order. There's 5 phases to the system of motorcycle control. Like I say, I'll go through those in more detail in the next video, but in brief they are information, position, speed, gear and acceleration. And it's a very flexible system, and it works for every hazard in every situation, as long as you apply it correctly. And if you're using good long observations, you can make your nice early plans, and it helps you ride progressively. So a lot of people don't like that word progress. Progress basically means just getting on with it. This road's a national speed limit road. There's no reason not to. We're going to do the national speed limit, which is 60 on this road. Cross view through the junction there, looking at the white car waiting in the junction, planning around that, thinking that possibly vehicles in front might turn at that junction as well. I'm looking for the next one to emerge from that junction. And And as predicted, there we go, little prediction, that car was going to turn off at that junction. So we've got to narrow in the road up ahead. You can see the white car in front. It's a classic example of how people just drive along, arrive at something and then get surprised when there's a car coming through that pinch point, when actually we've seen it a long time in advance and we could probably time our approach much better than the white car driver did and not feel like we're being caught out by surprise. It's eliminating that element of surprise from your riding that's important. We want to be less reliant on our reactions to deal with things and more reliant on our ability to look down the road and make plans and work out what might happen. We're going to make little observation links while we're riding, and that's based on our own experience. We see the one thing, what does it mean to us? So what else? Well, it's important to be smooth with the motorcycle's controls. We want to smoothly roll the bike along the road. We don't want to be harsh on the brakes, harsh on the accelerator. We don't want to be throwing it into corners. The smoother you go, actually the quicker you can go. So we can remove all those harsh elements from our riding. You're going to make better progress along the road and you're going to enjoy the ride a lot more as well. It's very satisfying just rolling along, on and off the gas, tipping the bike into corners. Motorcycles are, I mean, the performance of motorcycles these days is absolutely phenomenal. You know, even compared with the very fastest cars, motorcycles are extremely quick. So advanced motorcycling is learning how to use that performance appropriately. And that overtake there. You know, overtaking on a bike is so easy, it makes you wonder why there's so many motorcyclists who take so many risks when they're overtaking. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, overtaking is easy on a bike. Just wait, hold back, wait. You don't need a long straight. This bike will do 0 to 100 in about 5.5 seconds. It really doesn't take you long to pass anything with that kind of performance. A lot of the skills involved in advanced motorcycling actually are nothing to do with how you control the motorbike. And it's to do with much more with how you think about things, how the old grey matter works. It's to do with attitude, to do with not letting emotions get the better of you, even if something's really winding you up. Above all else, it's about remembering just how vulnerable you are on a bike. This will sound really daft, but every time I get on the bike it still feels odd that I don't have to put the seatbelt on. That's 34 years of driving and a feeling I just can't get out of. But a little bump that would leave you quite annoyed in the car but nothing else could leave you really seriously hurt or worse on a bike. So you've got to remember that level of vulnerability that we've got. But at the same time, you don't need to be obsessed with that. It's quite possible to get out and enjoy a ride on a nice day without worrying every 2 seconds that you're going to get potted. I'm very quick to that junction there, keep an eye on them. So how far do you need to take it? Well, you know, the IM and ROSPA do some great advanced motorcycling courses. The police run bike safe courses, well worth taking part in. You don't necessarily have to go and participate in a course of instruction. You can do some reading. There's plenty of YouTube stuff. Hopefully I'm going to add to that with some of these videos. The most important thing is that you go out, have a go and put these things into practice. Yeah, one of the things I say about advanced driving, it's the same with advanced motorcycling, is that we're not teaching you to ride again from fresh. We're not teaching you a completely different way of riding the bike. You're not going to be facing in the other direction and changing gear with your knees or anything like that. It's taking what you can already do and improving it. And so many people just pass the test and then continue riding the same way for the rest of their lives. I speak to people and they say they've got 30 years riding experience, and actually when you look into it, they haven't. They've got 1 year's riding experience times 30. They stopped learning when they passed the test, or maybe 12 months after they passed the test, and then they've just ridden the same way ever since. Whereas getting involved in something like this, something a bit more advanced, better riding, or whatever you want to call it, really can make a significant difference to you. I've spoken to so many people who've been so surprised at how much more there was still to learn. And there's two elements to what we're going to cover in this series of videos. One is how we ride the bike, and I'll be honest, I am still in that learning process. It does feel quite natural to me now riding the bike, but I'm still open to new techniques, open to trying new things. And the other thing that we'll cover is the roadcraft element. Roadcraft is, it's the same for any road user. How do we use the road space around us? How do we look ahead and make riding plans? How do we keep ourselves safe, keep that sort of bubble of safety around us, avoid pushing ourselves into dangerous situations? So that's my little introduction to my new advanced motorcycling videos. If you like the sound of it, subscribe to the channel please, it's free. Press the little bell, the notifications button, you'll get an email every time I upload a video. If you're here for the car stuff, don't despair, I'm going to carry on uploading the car stuff as well. We'll try and do a video every week, every couple of weeks, something like that. We'll alternate between bike stuff and car stuff. And if you're interested in any of this stuff, a good starting point is my website, restraint.com. Go and have a look there, there's loads more information. It's mostly around driving at the moment, but we'll update it with some bike stuff soon. Afternoon, gents. But until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.